Alright YouTube, so this is my early morning video since I may not get to make one later on. Um, so I was talking to my wife, and there's some Jehovah's Witnesses, I believe, that are stalking me. And they happen to keep missing me. They happen to keep coming the days I'm not here, which makes me smile a little bit because that's not necessarily a bad thing. But when I heard what was being preached at the door, I said, "Oh, I wish I would have been there," for two reasons. First of all, my wife has she's not from this country, so people tend to think when you're talking to someone who has an accent that they might not be understanding what you're saying exactly, or you have to slow it down. That's just how human nature. But what I thought was really funny was how well she handled these questions, and really took my back. It was a husband and wife couple. Uh, Now they're inviting her and me, but they're inviting her because she's there. And even with, well, I really can't do it, I have two kids. Oh, don't worry about it, we'll pick you up, the kids can go to a day. They're making it almost like you can't say no unless you're going to just be rude, which that's sort of the way I would have to approach it. I would tell them I'm not going, but in so many words, there's no way I'm going. But what's really great, this is disturbing. This is really disturbing, and this is why I wish I would have been there, because my wife actually handled it really well, but at the same time, um, I think she was really polite about it. And I would have been polite, don't get me wrong, but um, she let the door open, and I would have probably tried to slam it shut. And um, I mean that figuratively. I don't mean it literally. Um, this is what's dangerous about what Christianity is doing now, and I heard it from my sister, who's my sister and my mom are, you know, have both become evangelicals, and what they're preaching now is really scary and dangerous. So this lady's preaching in the Bible, preaching from the Bible to my wife, and it would have been, like I said, if I would have been home, I don't know how much I would have listened to, but my wife did like a great thing. So I'm going to get to the point. I'm not going to beat around the bush anymore. They're preaching. She's basically telling my wife that, oh, and we don't believe in global warming. And she starts telling her, yeah, we don't believe in global warming. So my wife, and I don't know how the whole conversation went, but to cut to the chase, my wife's like told her, well, I don't agree with you. I don't agree with that. So you're telling me that you don't believe that there are consequences to actions. And the husband, was taken aback, and I think it was the minister, was taken quite aback by that. Like, he looked like, oh shoot, you know, my wife's getting some tough questions. Or I wasn't expecting that from the little Latino. And she says, and my wife continues and says, so you mean to tell me that if you dump chemicals into water, and millions of people are dumping things into the water, that's not affecting what's in that water? That's not affecting certain creatures in that water. Uh, that's not affecting the balance of nature in the water. You're telling me that people are not affecting environment by dumping things into the environment. Um, and they're like, oh, no, 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 we believe in consequences. Yes, we believe in consequences, but let me go into the scripture, and flips the pages, and reading from the scripture, or the script, it says here that God created the earth and nobody can destroy it. So this is the scripture that they're coming from. They're saying that because in the Bible it says that nobody can destroy the earth, then obviously there is no such thing as global warming. Uh, I wish I would have been there. I wish I would have been there. That's all I can say. My wife did a great job, but I would have loved to have been there. Um, because that is the most ridiculous statement or thing that I've heard being taught. Not the it's okay. It's up there. It's up there with some of the worst things that people are bringing out, and this is sort of new, obviously, because global warming, the whole phenomenon, only recently has been put to light. 99.9%, I'd say, let's just go with 99% of scientists all agree that global warming is occurring. Now, I'm sure I'm going to get some comments on here saying, well, we don't know what's causing it. It could be a natural thing, blah, 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 blah. Okay. You believe that. But even if it is natural, which I don't believe it's natural, you can't just continue. You can't just continue to mess with a balance and not expect something to happen. But I'm not an expert on global warming. I'm not claiming to be an expert on global warming. I just read and look at what scientists are saying. And most scientists agree that it's humans that are causing global warming. Now, what's that mean? Will we adapt? Maybe, but there's a lot of animals and a lot of sea life that aren't going to adapt, and so we're going to lose out on quite a few species, I believe. The population may dwindle, especially if we go through any kind of a ice age. The population could certainly dwindle. Now, I say ice age, and people say, well, how could that happen? Well, simply the Gulf Stream, if enough fresh water dumps into the from, say, Iceland and Antarctica, if enough fresh water gets dumped into the cold fresh water gets dumped into the salt water of the oceans and cools down the water, it'll slow down the belt, the Gulf Stream belt. And once the Gulf Stream belt slows down and gets cooler, then weather gets cooler, because the Gulf Stream is what gives us the oceans are what carry the heat that make it not very temperate temperatures a lot of times of the year. So okay, let's not get into that. But so my point being this is that, and I've heard my sister say it before, and I just didn't want to. I will talk to her this time around to see if she's changed her mind. I'm going to visit her in a couple of months, but she recently said she didn't believe in global warming. I'm saying in the last year and a half. I hope she changed her mind by now. But yeah, and it's coming from the pulpit, which is just ridiculous. They need to really. I don't know what to say. That's really disturbing that the pulpit's being used to sway elections. The pulpit's being used now to to me, it's just, and I don't want to bring politics into it, but it's they're Bush has said in the past that well, we don't know what's causing global warming, and I don't know, it just seems like they're talking for the Republican Party, these churches. And I'm not saying all Christians are like this, but or all churches are like this, but this is something I've heard now a couple of times from evangelicals, and now the Jehovah's Witnesses are picking up the baton and saying that they don't believe in global warming. Well, that's fine. Don't believe in global warming if you don't want to. You don't have to believe in it. It doesn't mean it's not happening. And I don't care how many pages in the Bible you flip through. You can read from that book. It doesn't mean that. That's just such a misinterpretation. It's so aggravating. I'm sorry. I'm going to end this video. I'm just rambling, but that's so aggravating. Such a misinterpretation of the Bible. Of course, who can interpret the Bible? That book is ripe for misinterpretation. Nobody understands it. And in fact, when my wife said, they ask her, about God, and she says, well, if God is love, then I guess I believe in God, but I don't understand the Bible. I don't understand, that it really has a lot of, basically she was saying it has a lot of contradictions, and the guy was like, well, it took me 40 years to understand it. Well, then there's something wrong with your God. If it takes you 40 years to understand his message that's in a book, you know, then he should have started with a kindergarten Bible and, you know, go through the university Bible. Start with the kindergarten, explain what you mean. You know, make it a building, make it a learning experience. I'm running out of time. All right, talk to you guys later.